you got, but you'll also need to be familiar with how you file your taxes. That's questions like if you're single or a married filer or who you claim. Plus, if applicable, you want to make sure you have your immigration document information ready. And for those who might be signing up with the help of a professional navigator, well, you're going to need their information as well.
Wake up to the news that matters most with meteorologist and traffic reporter Chris Mulcahy.
And we're all clear. We're keeping you smarter, safer, and on time.
Start your day the Mulcahy way. See the difference. 4:30 to WCNC Charlotte.
Tonight, millions of dollars will be invested into Albemarle Road for pedestrian safety improvements as part of the city's Corridors of Opportunity program meant to uplift communities that are historically underserved. WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman tells us how the funds will be spent in tonight's Where's the Money report.
Heavy traffic and jaywalking. Albemarle Road is filled with commuters, and according to city data, it's at higher risk of car and pedestrian crashes.
You definitely see that in Corridors of Opportunity, having a higher number of those.
The city's Corridors of Opportunity program is making safety improvements in several underserved areas, including Albemarle.
Albemarle Road is part of the city's high injury network, so there have been multiple fatalities and serious injury crashes.
The city and state are greenlighting more than $3 million for the project in hopes of reducing the number of crashes.
There's a large population in Albemarle that are working and trying to safely get to jobs and are dependent upon transit and bike and pedestrian movement to get there.
The Albemarle corridor is getting 3 more of these pedestrian hybrid beacons, which offer a safe place to cross when there isn't an intersection.
We look to implement some of these projects to make it safer for people to cross and safer for people to move around on foot and on bike.
That also means closing sidewalk gaps and improving bus stops. Monica Holmes with the Corridors of Opportunity program says the upgrades go beyond safety.
Improving the public realm and really what the street looks like and how it feels and how easy it is to get around is an important aspect to help attract jobs to that corridor and more opportunities for employment in that area.
The city is getting most of the project money from NCDOT, but not until 2026. Construction won't start until 2027. Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte wants to hold government agencies accountable for how they use taxpayer money. So if you have something we should investigate, please email us the details at money@WCNC.com.
We were sent a series of questions by viewer Lori W. about the COVID-19 vaccine. So we're getting the facts and answering her questions about the new vaccine. Our source is Dr. Paul Coley, Yale Medicine, and the CDC. According to the CDC, the new COVID-19 vaccine targets a subvariant of the Omicron variant. The CDC says this should also work against other circulating variants. Lori W. wanted to know when should she and her husband get the vaccine because they want it to be most effective. Dr. Coley says if you're waiting to get your shots until November or December, you should rethink that decision.
Your peak antibodies are about 2 to 4 weeks after you get boosted, but they don't just go away after those 4 weeks. You actually have a plateau.
If people want to time their shot perfectly for holiday travel, Dr. Coley says now is the time to get your shot.
By Halloween, you'll have peak antibodies and you'll keep them through the Christmas time.
A study from Yale Medicine says the updated vaccines are not expected to prevent all cases of COVID. The aim is to reduce severe illness, hospitalization, and even death. According to the CDC, there was a surge in North Carolina COVID-19 hospitalizations at this time last year and in 2021, with most of the spikes happening around December. Lori W. also wanted to know how long the protection lasts. Dr. Coley says after the initial spike in antibodies 2 to 4 weeks after you get boosted, you'll start to plateau. After about 4 months, you'll start to see a decrease in those antibodies. And if you're wondering what time of day you should get your vaccine, Dr. Coley has an answer for that too.
So if you think about our immune system, it follows a circadian rhythm, and it's actually maximal when we're sleeping. So if you go in the afternoon to get your shot, that means that's really going to sort of kick in most when you're sleeping.
With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something you would like verified, just email us at verify@WCNC.com.
When it comes to WCNC's chief meteorologist Brad Panovich, our viewers tell the whole story.
Hey, if you're new to the area, this meteorologist is awesome.
I always stick with Brad Panovich when it comes to severe weather. He's rarely wrong.
You should follow Brad if you don't already. He's usually right on the money with his forecast.
I don't look at anything else besides what Brad says. We are fortunate to have him here.
Brad Panovich. Experience the difference with WCNC Charlotte weather.
Drivers roaming around Charlotte might notice a large orange device on the side of the road. In fact, a lot of people on social media are wondering about what this device might be. Well, here's Megan Bragg with this morning's Verify.
Have you seen these giant orange devices hanging around on the side of the roads in Charlotte? A lot of people on social media believe the device is taking photos of your car to see if you're texting and driving. But is this true? Are there actually devices placed on the side of the road in the hopes of catching people texting and driving? Let's verify. Our sources are the North Carolina State Highway Patrol and the North Carolina Department of Transportation. The North Carolina State Highway Patrol says they have 3 of these devices that they can place around the city. Their purpose? To catch commercial motor vehicle operators or truck drivers who are on their phones while driving. According to NCSHP, last year's fatal collision data shows most of the crashes happened because preoccupied truck drivers failed to reduce their speed or were drifting out of their lanes. NCSHP says these 3 devices combined cost $496,000 and were paid for with federal grants. We were told the image captured on the devices are not shared with any other law enforcement entity for any other purpose.
And this comes on the heels of Governor Cooper proclaiming October 25th as Buckle Up Phone Down Day. Last year, according to NCDOT, 712 people died as a result of not wearing a seatbelt or driving while distracted.
Since June alone, NC State Highway Patrol says troopers have issued 961 seatbelt violations and 565 handheld phone violations thanks to information from these devices. So we can verify that, yes, there are devices placed along the roads in Charlotte capturing images of people texting and driving. But according to law enforcement, they are monitoring the behavior of truck drivers and not other motorists. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something you would like verified, just email us at verify@wcnc.com.
When did you know what you wanted to be?
Hey, Mom, the weather's on!
WCNC Charlotte's chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich, always knew what he was meant to do.
All right, don't forget your umbrella.
In fact, he joined the American Meteorological Society when he was 13. Now Brad is all grown up. You can see him right here on WCNC Charlotte, making sure you're informed and safe.
Hey, where did all my hair go?
Experience the difference.
Let's check in now on the forecast. You're looking at live pictures from downtown Monroe. Beautiful day out there, but it is a chilly one. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy joins us now with more. Hey, Chris.
It's better than this morning, Sarah, at least, where some of us, for the first time, turned on their heat, and I'm sure those heaters were blasting as you're in your car this morning. 17 degrees was the low in Boone, 31 degrees in Charlotte, 30 in Monroe. If you look all across the area, everyone dropped down to the freezing point and below. We should be typically in the lower 40s, so I had a schedule there, but it's actually pretty much on par where we have been over the last 5 years. 31 degrees was our first freezing temperature this fall. On average, we typically do this around November 8th. Last year, we actually did it October 19th, and then 2021, 2020, and 2019 pretty much around this time from the 3rd to the 5th. So pretty much right on schedule for our first dip down to that 32 and below. We're going to do it again tonight, but something's different. We will have a chance for a little bit of frost whenever you have winds less than 5 miles per hour, a clear sky, freezing temperatures, moisture, all that mixed together. That could lead to some frosty windshield, but you're not going to have a frost advisory, nor are you going to have a freeze warning. Yes, we are dropping down the freezing point, but officially our local National Weather Service office has canceled what's called the frost freeze program. The only reason why we're telling you it's going to be frosty or freezing is because of the growing season. Now the growing season is officially deemed over because of that freeze. It's not going to be until spring 2024 that you see another one of these pop up, because now going forward we can expect these dips down to 32 every once in a while. Rolling forward, though, that will not be the case. Tomorrow morning will be similar to this morning, but then we have the mid-30s, the lower 40s, and then the 50s even on Wednesday and Thursday, and then another big drop is going to be on the way. Let's focus in on the sunshine. It's going to be a beautiful pattern. Loving what we got going on today. If you liked yesterday, you're going to like today a lot more. I thought it was still bearable because of that sunshine. Sunshine, I always say this fact, if you're standing directly in it, it will easily make you feel at least 10 degrees warmer. 56 degrees compared to 53 yesterday, so it's a 3-degree upgrade. But the big thing is it's not as breezy, so we don't have those harsh wind chills. Pretty much our wind chill is going to be matching our temperature through most of the afternoon. You'll feel it every once in a while, and then heading through the evening, we really cool down in a hurry. Tomorrow's forecast, this is a nice upgrade. We're not talking about the 50s for highs, we're talking about the 60s. This will feel a whole lot better. Still holding on to that sunshine, a lighter wind. As long as you got that big blue H dancing around, even if you get a couple of them, that's great for blocking anything from moving, say, on shore or any systems to move on in. So we're really going to be stuck in that drier pattern going forward. There's a slight chance for rain on Tuesday. I don't have it here, but that really looks to be pretty much null and void. But this isn't necessarily a good thing. Every Thursday, Q next week is actually specifically on this. North Carolina, 91% of it's either under a dry to a drought status. And if we zoom in a little bit closer, South Carolina is not as bad, but for all of our viewing area, we're either under a moderate to now a severe drought. So that means areas in Cleveland County, Burke County especially, I've seen some advisories along the Catawba River to try to use less water. And this can happen this time of year. I did talk to somebody who's an expert about all this, and they said that they're not really expecting any long-term lasting effects, but if we don't get some rain really in the next month, it's only going to worsen. But let's focus in on the good. Still plenty of sunshine, a great pattern. We are falling back, though. The end of daylight saving time starts on Saturday night, so that's going to be nice to get that extra night of sleep. Of course, it changes our sunset and our sunrise times, but this coming Sunday, look at this. The Panthers game, lower 70s and the mid to the upper 70s. That's right. The cool down was worth it. We have that next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Early voting is underway in the Carolinas, and don't forget, in both Carolinas, voters will have to show a photo ID. If you do not have one, you can use a provisional ballot. In South Carolina, early voting ends on November 3rd. In North Carolina, it's the 4th, and Election Day is November 7th.
And as early voting continues across the Carolinas, there's concern this election, like many local races, won't draw a big crowd. WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood has a closer look at efforts to fix this exact point.
There are some things you come to expect on Election Day.
The crowds and the groups and sometimes the lines.
Low voter turnout for local races is one expectation officials are hoping to see change.
The more national or the federal elections, you'll see a lot more participation.
According to the nonpartisan research group Fair Vote, low turnout is often attributed to political disengagement and the belief that voting will do little to change public policy. Not understanding how to register, having an approved ID, or transportation also contribute, according to the National Civic League.
So people know that they want to vote for candidate X or candidate Y, and so they go out and make sure that they do that. But municipal elections are as important, if not more important, on a daily basis.
TJ Lundeen with the South Carolina Election Commission says early voting can help by providing more time. But the National Civic League says there is no quick fix. It believes a mix of strategies, including changing local elections to even years to pair with major races and increasing outreach among underrepresented groups like college students and people of color, can help. Also, an old-fashioned reminder.
As an American, voting is a great right and a real privilege, very important for all of us.
Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
Well, life in Lewiston, Maine is starting to get back to a new normal after last Wednesday's mass shooting. This morning, investigators continue to search for a motive. People gathering this weekend for candlelight vigils and prayer services to remember the 18 victims killed at a bar and bowling alley. Police found the suspect, Robert Carr, dead Friday night a few miles away from Lewiston. Police say he shot himself. The Associated Press reports that just last month, police sent out a statewide bulletin about Carr. Police say they tried to find him for a wellness check, but were never able to locate him.
You know, if you talk about, is there a motive here, right? I think clearly there's a mental health component to this. We still need to do some research around trying to get access to certain records and things of that nature, which again, you could probably imagine is not just as simple as just calling somebody, hey, can you send me this thing?
A Lewiston hospital says 3 shooting victims still in the hospital in critical condition. A 4th is unstable.
Now, this latest mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine is now being followed up with, of course, the debate over gun laws. So Forbes broke it down like this. The shooting comes just weeks before the Supreme Court hears a landmark gun rights case that could weaken rules on who owns guns. The case we're talking about is the U.S. versus Rahimi. Now, more on the key facts. The law in question bars people from owning guns if they have domestic violence restraining orders against them. Rahimi, the defendant in this case, carried out a series of shootings while he had such an order against him. And here's the hang-up. Lower courts are mixed on how constitutional domestic violence laws actually are. And depending on how the court rules, there could be a ripple effect on other gun regulations, like provisions that keep groups like drug users from owning firearms. Now, rules keeping guns from felons, though, those should remain untouched. The court is going to hear these oral arguments on November 7th, but any decision in this case isn't likely to come out for at least a few months. That could be any time before the court's term ends in June of 2024.
The new and improved WCNC Plus, now on Roku and Fire TV. Watch local live newscasts, get extended breaking news coverage, and see local programs and specials. The new and improved WCNC Plus, now on Roku and Fire TV.
This morning, street takeovers continue to be a problem across Charlotte. And take a look at this. This was the scene playing out over the weekend at Remount Road and West Boulevard. And CMPD says they're cracking down too, towing 11 cars this weekend alone. Wake Up Charlotte's Richard Devane now live for us this morning, and Richard, law enforcement saying that they're eagerly awaiting a new law to take effect so they can help put an end to some of these stunts.
Absolutely correct, Ben. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Yeah, they say they're waiting for that law, but they're also sending a message by these recent arrests and citations and towing of cars. They're saying that basically you may try to do this, but not in our city.
Roaring engines, tires burning, rubber, cars doing donuts and spinning about. Street takeovers. We reported on these incidents before. Dozens of cars gather and literally take over the streets of Charlotte as others video the dangerous maneuvers. CMPD says it's continuing to crack down on these incidents and the ones responsible.
We'll tow that vehicle to an impound lot. We will collect all the evidence we can, pictures, looking at tread, looking at modifications to the car, and we'll process that.
CMPD's Street Takeover Task Force says it seized 11 cars from street takeovers over the weekend, mostly from several incidents Saturday night, including on Statesville Avenue, West Boulevard, and Wilkerson Boulevard, handing out 13 citations and towing 11 cars, including these. So far, there have been dozens of arrests, nearly 100 cars towed, and more than 130 citations in response to street takeovers since February. Coming next month, state law will be even tougher on those who organize and take part in multiple events, giving police more weapons to combat these events.
Along with the new statute we have and the statute we have on the books, it will discourage this activity. That's what we're hoping.
Yeah, and that new law will take effect on December the 1st. It's important to note that if your car is towed away in one of these incidents, you need a court order in order to get your car back. We're reporting live in Charlotte. Richard Devane for Wake Up Charlotte.
Just a bit. Tonight, there is a push for higher fines if someone parks illegally in Charlotte. Right now, folks are fined $25 in most spots, but there's a local group hoping to bump that to $100.
Wow, WCNC Charlotte's Lexi Wilson showing us now how their goal is to keep everyone safe.
Paying more for a parking ticket, that could soon be the reality for Charlotte residents. Right now, sustainability leaders say that the fines are so low and it's not stopping anyone from parking in spots like this. The Queen City is growing fast, which means finding a parking spot can move slow. At times, many people park where they just aren't supposed to.
I see it a lot when I drive in and out of the city, especially blocking the bike lanes.
Now there's a push to put a stop to illegal parking. Nonprofit organization Sustain Charlotte is showing support for new changes to be made to city code through this petition. The revisions would increase the fines for cars that park on sidewalks, bike paths, streetcar right-of-ways, electric vehicle spaces, and loading zones. Currently, the fine for parking in these areas is $25. The proposed amendments would raise fines to $100.
But if people get fined $100, they're a lot less likely to park there again.
Hope Wright, Sustain Charlotte's advocacy manager, says they're optimistic this change will force people to park in designated areas, creating safer streets.
Because if there is a car parked on a sidewalk or a bike lane, that forces the people who are then using that to go into the street, which obviously is very unsafe.
The amendment met with mixed reaction Wednesday.
$100 is pretty high.
It's probably necessary. I mean, because right now $25 doesn't really seem to be doing anything to the people who park illegally.
And in a city working to increase mobility and other transportation options, advocates say this is a step in the right direction.
People, again, aren't going to be moving towards other forms of transportation unless they actually have viable, safe, convenient options.
And if you'd like to sign this petition, we'll put the link on our WCNC mobile app. Now, Charlotte City Council is expected to discuss this and vote on November 27th. Reporting in Uptown for
Lexi Wilson reporting there. Now to a new.
When I think about the community, I think about the time that I've been here. I've been in this community almost my entire adult life. So you get to know the people. When you know what they care about, then that's what you care about. This community looks at all of us who do weather here at WCNC Charlotte as part of their family. And when you're part of their family, you want to make sure you do it just for them.
Asking where's the money as some folks get ready to knock off items on your holiday shopping list. Good morning and happy Thursday. Today is National Cashback Day. It means on this day, you're going to get paid for shopping. So let's break this down. This holiday started a few years ago from Retail Me Not. While it used to be a 24-hour event, well, now Cashback Day spans 3 days. The Retail Me Not website says online stores are giving as much as 20% in cash back. And this is one as finally as good as it sounds. So if you spend $100, you're going to get $20 back in your pocket. Here's how it works. You go to the website, retailmenot.com, and you make a free account. Then you click on an offer. You'll go directly from the website to the online retailer site, and then you're going to check out as normal. Now, Retail Me Not tracks the purchase, and then they're going to issue a credit for cash back that's based on the amount of your transaction. After that, you can redeem the money through Venmo or PayPal. So those can be a lot of steps to follow, especially for those of us that don't spend a lot of time shopping online. But people are taking advantage. So research site Top Cashback says making it through these steps could save you up to $450 each year. So it got us asking, what are some of the items that are on your holiday shopping list? Make sure you text us 704-329-3600.
This Breast Cancer Awareness Month, WCNC Charlotte is highlighting the incredible stories of those who have been or are currently in that battle. The subject of tonight's story has gone above and beyond, devoting her life to rescuing dogs. But not just any dogs. Robin Young has a soft spot for pugs. She's turned her garage into a kennel to care for sick and unwanted pugs until they can be adopted out. But tonight, it's Robin who needs the care and healing. Our Larry Sprinkle brings us her story.
This is a story about some very special dogs, but most importantly, it's about the very special person who cares for these dogs.
Robin Young has spent her life helping.
That's a pretty girl. I care for people and I have this passion for pugs.
Helping people as a nurse. And helping homeless and abandoned dogs as the founding board member of Mid-Atlantic Pug Rescue.
My vision was that we met all of their needs before they went to their new family.
Much of this time has been fighting battles to do all of that.
Daisy's a great example. She needed a back surgery and her family couldn't afford it.
Now Robin is fighting her own battle. August 31st this year, 8 little puppies were dropped off at her home. They'd been left in a bag on the side of the road.
They needed to be bottle fed. They were so young at that point.
That same day, Robin had a screening and received a devastating diagnosis: breast cancer.
I'm busy. I don't have time for this. And he said, well, Robin, most people don't have time for cancer. And I said, no, you don't understand. I really don't have time for this.
October 4th, she had surgery.
Yes. And it doesn't just affect the person. It affects their family, their friends. And I needed someone to come and help me. because he was like, you're not going to be able to drive yourself. You're not going to be able to do many things.
With Robin and a group of dedicated volunteers taking care of these little rescues, they've become part of the helping process.
These have been healing. They have been my little, when you have to sit and be still, they are happy to sit and be still with me. They are good therapy. They love you no matter what.
Nothing has kept her from all the needy pugs and puppies.
What do you say to anyone going through something similar?
You need to have a good attitude, I can, and I will, and I won't let this get me down.
With one amazing lady and lots of special dogs in Lancaster County, South Carolina, Larry Sprinkle, back to you.
Hey YouTube, this is Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here at WCNC Charlotte. We want you to head over to our Weather IQ YouTube page, where we're making you smarter and safer. We have a passion for weather science, and we want you to understand what's happening when the weather changes, because in the end, that's what keeps you safe. It's not about being scared, it's about being informed. Browse our collection of fun and informative clips and look for new segments every week. We're here to raise your weather IQ. Experience the difference on WCNC Charlotte.
Let's check in now on the forecast. You're looking at live pictures from downtown Monroe. Beautiful day out there, but it is a chilly one. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy joins us now with more. Hey, Chris.
It's better than this morning, Sarah, at least, where some of us, for the first time, turned on their heat, and I'm sure those heaters were blasting as you were in your car this morning. 17 degrees was the low in Boone, 31 degrees in Charlotte, 30 in Monroe. If you look all across the area, everyone dropped down to the freezing point and below. We should be typically in the lower 40s, so ahead of schedule there, but it's actually pretty much on par where we have been over the last 5 years. 31 degrees was our first freezing temperature this fall. On average, we typically do this around November 8th. Last year, we actually did it October 19th, and then 2021, 2020, and 2019 pretty much around this time from the 3rd to the 5th. So pretty much right on schedule for our first dip down to that 32 and below. We're going to do it again tonight, but something's different. We will have a chance for a little bit of frost whenever you have winds less than 5 miles per hour, a clear sky, freezing temperatures, moisture, all that mixed together. That could lead to some frosty windshield, but you're not going to have a frost advisory, nor are you going to have a freeze warning. Yes, we are dropping down the freezing point, but officially our local National Weather Service office has canceled what's called the frost freeze program. The only reason why we're telling you it's going to be frosty or freezing is because of the growing season. Now the growing season is officially deemed over because of that freeze. It's not going to be until spring 2024 that you see another one of these pop up, because now going forward we can expect these dips down to 32 every once in a while. Rolling forward, though, that will not be the case. Tomorrow morning will be similar to this morning, but then we have the mid-30s, the lower 40s, and then the 50s even on Wednesday and Thursday, and then another big drop is going to be on the way. Let's focus in on the sunshine. It's going to be a beautiful pattern. Loving what we got going on today. If you liked yesterday, you're going to like today a lot more. I thought it was still bearable because of that sunshine. Sunshine, I always say this fact, if you're standing directly in it, it will easily make you feel at least 10 degrees warmer. 56 degrees compared to 53 yesterday, so it's a 3-degree upgrade. But the big thing is it's not as breezy, so we don't have those harsh wind chills. Pretty much our wind chill is going to be matching our temperature through most of the afternoon. You'll feel it every once in a while, and then heading through the evening, we really cool down in a hurry. Tomorrow's forecast, this is a nice upgrade. We're not talking about the 50s for highs, we're talking about the 60s. This will feel a whole lot better. Still holding on to that sunshine, a lighter wind. As long as you got that big blue H dancing around, even if you get a couple of them, that's great for blocking anything from moving, say, on shore, or any systems to move on in. So we're really going to be stuck in that drier pattern going forward. There's a slight chance for rain on Tuesday. I don't have it here, but that really looks to be pretty much null and void. But this isn't necessarily a good thing. Every Thursday, the U.S. Drought Monitor issues this map, and my Weather IQ next week is actually specifically on this. North Carolina, 91% of it's either under a dry to a drought status. And if we zoom in a little bit closer, South Carolina is not as bad, but for all of our viewing area, we're either under a moderate to now a severe drought. So that means areas in Cleveland County, Burke County especially, I've seen some advisories along the Catawba River to try to use less water. And this can happen this time of year. I did talk to somebody who's an expert about all this, and they said that they're not really expecting any long-term lasting effects, but if we don't get some rain really in the next month, it's only going to worsen. But let's focus in on the good. Still plenty of sunshine, a great pattern. We are falling back, though. The end of daylight saving time starts on Saturday night, so that's going to be nice to get that extra night of sleep. Of course, it changes our sunset and our sunrise times, but this coming Sunday, look at this. The Panthers game, lower 70s and the mid to the upper 70s. That's right. The cool down was worth it. We have that next Tuesday and Wednesday.
This change in weather often brings more sniffles, but many of the illnesses that come during cooler months like the flu and allergies have similar symptoms to COVID-19. WCNC Charlotte's Caitlin Hagwood spoke with Rowan County health officials on the importance of getting checked out.
When it comes to the sniffles and sneezes of the fall season, the cause may be harder to tell than you think. Courtney Meese is with the Rowan County Health Department. She says whether it's the flu, COVID, or seasonal allergies, similar symptoms could leave you wondering what's really wrong.
Some of the similarities, you're going to see some runny nose, some congestion, some difficulty sleeping, fatigue, possibly a sore throat.
The best thing to do? Talk to your doctor if you're really feeling under the weather. And
it's really important to make sure that we are testing and being aware.
While the flu spreads year-round, the CDC says the virus peaks between December and February. Getting tested for the flu or COVID can help you rule them out.
It could be COVID disguised, and we want to take the most precautions that we possibly can.
Getting your flu and COVID vaccinations can also help keep you well.
So it's better to test and find out for sure than to take a gamble.
Caitlin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
We took to Google to see what people want to know about the flu season. We took a look at the top searches and went to the experts to verify.
Our source is family physician Dr. Carla Robinson, the CDC, and GoodRx Health. The first question, does the flu vaccine actually contain the influenza virus in it?
One actually has a live version of the virus, but it's very, very weak.
Robinson says the vaccine with a small amount of the virus in it won't give you the flu because there's not enough virus to infect you. The CDC lists 6 different variations of the flu shot, some that contain the actual virus and others that do not. So we can verify that yes, some flu vaccines do have a very small dose of the virus in it. The next question, does the flu vaccine work right away? According to the CDC, your body needs about 2 weeks after you get the shot for antibodies to develop and provide protection.
Within that window, it is possible to get infected with some sort of, virus, upper respiratory infection, or even the flu itself.
So we can verify that no, the flu vaccine doesn't work right away. It takes about 2 weeks to kick in. And finally, how much is the flu vaccine if you don't have insurance? GoodRx, a company that provides discounts on prescriptions, tells us if you don't have insurance, the cost typically ranges from $25 to $90 out of pocket.
Those who are 65 and older have the option of receiving a higher potency vaccine, one that's a little bit stronger. Those tend to be a little bit more on the expensive side.
However, there are drive-up clinics in Mecklenburg County that offer the COVID and flu vaccines for uninsured residents at no cost.
Robinson says the best time to get your flu shot is now, so you're covered in time for the holidays. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something you would like verified, just email us at verify@wcnc.com.
At WCNC Charlotte, we believe it is crucial to make a difference in our communities.
That's why we go beyond just reporting the news. We ask, where's the money to hold the powerful accountable and get money back into your pockets?
Our Verify team takes claims, finds sources, and gets you answers.
And we're keeping you weather aware, making you safer and smarter.
I'm Vanessa Rufus.
And I'm Colin Mayfield. Join us weeknights at 5, 6, and 11 and see the difference for yourself.
Only on WCNC Charlotte.
Frost forms when water vapor deposits onto a freezing surface, causing a thin layer of ice to form. This occurs most often during autumn and winter when the nights are long, allowing for more time for temperatures to cool. A perfect weather setup for frost includes calm winds, a clear sky, moisture in the air and on the ground. Even though the air needs to be cold, your thermometer may not say 32 degrees. That's because temperature sensors are typically 5 feet or more above the ground. The coldest air sits right at the surface, below those sensors. At night, heat radiates away from the ground, allowing for the temperature to drop quickly. In the absence of wind, cold air settles close to the surface because the air is denser. If the surface temperature and the dew point match, relative humidity will be 100%. We refer to this as reaching the frost point. This means there is enough moisture present to create those delicate ice crystals and frost will form. This surface temperature ranges, but is typically 5 degrees cooler than the measured temperature. This is why you may hear the WCNC Charlotte weather team refer to 37 degrees as the magic number for frost. Other than needing a few extra minutes to scrape your windshield, frost is relatively harmless for most folks in the Carolinas, but it can impact agriculture. This is why the National Weather Service issues frost advisories during the growing season. With your WCNC Charlotte Weather IQ, I'm meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees.
All new tonight, a frustrating situation for a Charlotte homeowner. She says she's forced to live in a hotel due to repairs happening at her condo.
And she also explains that she was only given a few days heads up that she would need to be out, at the hotel that she's staying at is coming out of her own pocket right now. She's paying for that. WCNC Charlotte's Lexi Wilson joins us with what the homeowner is saying about the situation.
She says she's upset with how everything's been handled. Right now, she's been forced to live in a hotel for several days, and she didn't budget for it.
For this Charlotte woman, being able to have a place of her own means everything. But lately, it's caused more hardship than ease.
I was upset. My neighbors are upset.
As the landing balcony between these two condos gets replaced at the Carmel Village in South Charlotte, she finds herself without a home.
I don't have 4 days of hotel money just lying around. I put everything I have into buying this place.
She claims she wasn't given adequate notice about the repairs. She received this email from the management group Friday stating that she would have no access to her condo from Monday through Thursday of this week. While the email states it's a friendly reminder, this woman says she didn't even know repairs needed to be made in the first place.
Give us notice in other ways too, and give us multiple notices so that we don't miss it.
She says her and her neighbors were told they won't be reimbursed for their hotel stay. And at a time when home ownership should be a key to building wealth, she says she's now set back in her finances.
I did reach out to the HOA and property management here and have not heard back in time for this newscast, but I was able to get in contact with the contractor. He says the repairs that they're working on are a high priority, and they did give residents a week's notice prior to this construction. Reporting in South Charlotte for WCNC Charlotte, I'm Lexi Wilson.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
We're now headed into the holiday season, and many of you might be looking for ways to make some extra cash. But don't be fooled by every new opportunity. We've brought you several examples through the week, and you can see some of those by scanning the QR code on your screen tonight. WCNC Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard, though, is going to show us how scammers have young adults asking where's the money.
Scammers hide behind an illusion of trust. That deception can come in a form of a text, an email, or even a job offer.
I think 18 to 24-year-olds are most susceptible with employment scams. They found a demographic they can take advantage of.
Tom Bartholomew is the president of the Better Business Bureau. He says they're seeing more young adults fall victim to work-from-home scams, a process that could take weeks.
This is kind of a long scam. They You do an interview, you get interviewed by 2 or 3 different people, all online, all via Zoom or some other platform. They end up making you an offer. You accept their offer. Then immediately you hear from HR. And HR is sending you the documents for, we need your social security number. We use direct deposit.
Bartholomew says from there, time, money, and your identity, all stolen.
You've given them willingly everything they could ever dream of as far as what an identity thief is looking for.
They say employment scammers are also sending folks a check in the mail to purchase work-related items, only to find out it's all a scam. The check is fake, and the money spent is yours.
The amount of money that they're getting from people that they're scamming has almost doubled in just the last year.
Bartholomew says the average loss last year climbed from $500 to $700 to $1,800 to $2,500.
It's all because you didn't take 5 minutes and do a little bit of research to find out, is this company even for real?
A big tip, he says, will ensure you're both tech savvy and scam savvy. Tradisha Woodard, WCNC Charlotte.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense, more and more folks headed back to the office, and they want to smell good for their coworkers too.
Back to the office means back to wearing deodorant. Let's connect the dots. The need for deodorant has surged as people gear up to sit next to their coworkers once again. Popular brands like Dove and Impulse reported a 15% increase in sales. But the sweet smell of success couldn't happen without drastic lows. The companies say they saw a dip in sales during the pandemic. With 70% of workers working from home during the pandemic, the majority not feeling the need for deodorant. Now, almost 30% remain hybrid as companies promote in-office work. And the push to work in person has made deodorant one of the fastest growing self-care products on the market. And that is connecting the dots.
So the question, and maybe y'all will surprise me, I don't know. Do you wear deodorant when you're working from home? That's what we want to know. You can text us and you can be anonymous. By the way, 704-329-3600. I mean, for the sake of your family and friends, I would hope you would still wear deodorant.
That's what I'm saying. It's just kind of a standard, just do it. It's part of your routine.
Right. Yeah,
I would hope. Sitting at home funky. The little spray.
A little bit.
Or roll on. Or
whatever your preference.
Is it a pill? Take a little pill?
Let us know.
I'm excited to see the responses for this
please,
one.
by all means. Connect the dots and let us clear up the confusion. We're here to make sure the news makes sense. And with Connect the Dots, you'll understand how the headlines impact your family. See the difference on WCNC Charlotte.
Speaking of, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. There are currently more than 3.8 million breast cancer survivors in the U.S. Today, we're speaking with several of them. Up first, a CMS teacher who says early detection saved her life. WCNC Charlotte's Lexi Wilson sharing her story, encouraging other women to do self-examinations and set mammogram appointments.
Last year, when Stevie Roper turned 40, she went for her first mammogram.
I got a call back, and they said that I had something that just looked suspicious.
That call changed her life. Roper says she checked for herself and felt a lump.
When I went in there, I said, oh, this is probably what you had caught. This is what I felt. And they were like, oh, no, it's not the same place.
After running tests, doctors told her it was a rare and aggressive tumor. They told her it wasn't cancerous, but it turns out they were wrong.
And they found that it was cancerous.
30-minute group. Now, as an educator, Roper feels called to educate other women about the importance of getting checked.
So many more people are getting cancer. And so, especially for women, it's just very important to really check because it's happening younger and younger.
Roper says she might not have gotten treatment in time if she hadn't done that self-examination.
If I didn't find it, they may not have found it. Glad that they found the cysts so that I did check, because I wouldn't have just checked.
She says her school was super supportive during her 2 months of radiation. Looking back, one thing Roper wants to tell other women is that anyone can get cancer.
Cancer was never in my vocabulary. My parents never had it.
But detecting it early can make all the difference.
It can happen to you, and there's a really good chance it will happen to you, but you have to find it early to really help.
Reporting for WCNC Charlotte, I'm Lexi Wilson.
And since October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, tonight on WCNC Plus, we take time to shed light on the importance of early detection. At 8 p.m., we'll go over the resources and support available for both people battling the disease and for survivors. You can watch on your favorite streaming device.
WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint, where power and politics collide and the tough questions get asked and answered.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. This week, leaders in the North Carolina General Assembly signing off on new district maps that will likely hand over a lot more power to Republicans in next year's election. But you know what? We might never know what exactly happened behind the scenes when drawing those maps. That's all because of provision in the latest state budget that significantly limits what's accessible to the public. It gives broad discretion to lawmakers to decide if a record should be made public or destroyed. Leaves it up to themselves to police. And that could make it tough for the public and WCNC Charlotte, or really any news organization, to hold lawmakers accountable to their words and actions. Joining us now is Brooks Fuller. He's the executive director of the North Carolina Open Government Coalition and professor at Elon. Professor, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Hey, Ben, thanks for having me.
For the average folks at home, why should they care about not having access to public records?
Broadly speaking, I mean, public records are the property of the people. Public records are government activity reduced to documentary format. This is how we learn what our elected and appointed leaders do in their respective positions. It's one of the only ways that we can find out for ourselves what the truth is of what's happening in government. So we're entitled to them and we deserve them.
Because in our process of news gathering as journalists, folks at home might not realize this, but sometimes, not always, but sometimes lawmakers at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level, Democrat, Republican, sometimes they don't like all of their information behind the conversations they have, deals they make. Sometimes they don't want that to be public.
Unquestionably. So, you know, the narrative that politicians sometimes like to put out are, you know, things that are favorable to their party or to their position, disfavorable or unflattering to their opposition. And public records are one of the ways that journalists and members of the public have access to the actual truth, documentary evidence of what's happening in government.
So I know Republicans who supported this provision in the General Assembly, they, including the Speaker, Tim Moore, said that sometimes this media requests can bog down government offices, and taxpayer money is included in it as well. He says the changes allow lawmakers to filter out those requests, sort of police themselves. Mm-hmm. Is that a fair portrayal of what this is?
No, it's not fair. If the General Assembly wanted to prioritize public information, they could allocate funds to all kinds of government offices in order to hasten the free flow of information. You know, the beauty of the public records law is that it doesn't really put the burden on the public to decide what's going to be the efficient use of government's time. It just says that public records are our property and that there's a compelling overarching policy reason for those to be in the hands of the public. It doesn't matter that we have to wait for them, because sometimes we do. It doesn't matter that we have to pay for copies, because sometimes we do. All that matters is that this information tells us what our government is up to. It tells us what our elected and appointed leaders are doing with their time and with our money, with our tax dollars that fund all of the projects and all the work that they bring into our communities. And it's that's why the records are important. It's not because they're, you know, cheap or easy to produce all of the time. Sometimes we have to wait. Sometimes it's complicated, but it's worth that wait and it's worth that complication, regardless of the fact that it may take our lawmakers a little bit of extra time and use a little bit of staff time to provide those to us. The bargain is well worth it for the public.
I think this also goes back to something we talk about on occasion, is media literacy and folks not realizing the process that journalists go through. I mean, almost any really big investigation that you see here on our air or in the Charlotte Observer or in any other major publication, oftentimes is the result of records requests. And that's how we find out our information. And sometimes, to your point, it can take months, but it's the work that we put in as journalists. What do you see as the implications of this provision going into the future?
A lot of viewers are going to know that the legislature is developing new legislative maps that decide how our state is carved up into districts for electing members of Congress, electing members of the General Assembly. And prior to the passage of this law, we could see communications that lawmakers had about that process and documents that they receive about drafting maps and all of the ingredients to this critical aspect of our representative democracy. You know, who gets to vote for what district and who gets to serve in what district are core, regardless of partisan leaning, to representative democracy in this state and in this country. And all of that goes into a black box under this new law. There are innumerable reasons, especially now with a state that looks like North Carolina looks, why the public should have access to that information and understand how their legislative districts get drawn. And it's no secret that we've been the target of litigation in this area. You know, there's a lot of outside interests around the country that are litigating cases around voting rights in North Carolina. And this information, these maps and all the ingredients that go into them has been front and center in that litigation. Things that, you know, could wind up in front of the Supreme Court someday. Shielding those public records is bad for public information. It's bad for representative democracy. I can't put it more strongly than that. This is terrible for our public information.
It's just bad. Politics aside, it's just bad. It's not good for our democracy as a whole. Do you know, are there any other states or other precedent that cut off publics from access to their state house?
There are a few. I'm glad that you bring this up. So we are in a minority of states, fewer than 10 across the country, that exempt their legislators from the Public Records Act. There are a few that restrict certain types of communications, like communications with constituents. There are only 2 states who shield that. So now we are one of 3 that don't allow the public to see communications between constituents and elected leaders. So that's a very small minority. We're one of only another handful of 9 or 10 that shield communications between legislators and between legislators and their staff or other members of the public, like special interest groups, lobbyists, other folks that they might correspond with. So the vast majority of states around the country do not do this.
Do you think this rule could be overturned in the courts?
It's hard to say. I don't know of any active litigation that is challenging this law in court. You know, just like the General Assembly passed the Public Records Law decades ago and have sort of tightened it and loosened it in different ways in the decades since. They really have a lot of authority to decide what is and what is not public record. We do not have a constitutional provision in our state constitution that enshrines the right to know, so enshrines the right to public records. There are a few other states that do that. If we had that, there would be a more direct attack in the courts that you could bring under the Constitution. Unfortunately, that's not the case in North Carolina. So there would have to be some other sort of creative legal theories to challenge this law directly. What may get litigated out is the scope of the legislative privilege, how far it sweeps, whether there are documents that might fall outside of that privilege. Those questions remain to be resolved by the courts, but there's no active litigation right now on that front.
Well, they say sunlight is the best disinfectant, and every single person watching this should care about this, because if you like the lawmakers in your city or town or state in this matter, or you don't, you definitely want to know what they're up to behind closed doors. Brooks Fuller, the Executive Director of the North Carolina Open Government Coalition. Brooks, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, and thank you very much.
More Flashpoint after this.
Let's check in now on the forecast. You're looking at live pictures from downtown Monroe. Beautiful day out there, but it is a chilly one. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy joins us now with more. Hey, Chris.
It's better than this morning, Sarah, at least, where some of us, for the first time, turned on their heat, and I'm sure those heaters were blasting as you were in your car this morning. 17 degrees was the low in Boone, 31 degrees in Charlotte, 30 in Monroe. If you look all across the area, everyone drop down to the freezing point and below. We should be typically in the lower 40s, so ahead of schedule there. But it's actually pretty much on par where we have been over the last 5 years. 31 degrees is our first freezing temperature this fall. On average, we typically do this around November 8th. Last year, we actually did it October 19th, and then 2021, 2020, and 2019 pretty much around this time from the 3rd to the 5th. So pretty much right on schedule for our first dip down to that 32 and below. We're going to do it again tonight, but something's different. We will have a chance for a little bit of frost whenever you have winds less than 5 miles per hour, a clear sky, freezing temperatures, moisture, all that mixed together. That could lead to some frosty windshield, but you're not going to have a frost advisory, nor are you going to have a freeze warning. Yes, we are dropping down the freezing point, but officially our local National Weather Service office has canceled what's called the frost freeze program. The only reason why we're telling you it's going to be frosty or freezing is because of the growing season. Now, the growing season is officially deemed over because of that freeze. It's not going to be until spring 2024 that you see another one of these pop up, because now going forward, we can expect these dips down to 32 every once in a while. Rolling forward, though, that will not be the case. Tomorrow morning will be similar to this morning, but then we have the mid-30s, the lower 40s, and then the 50s even on Wednesday and Thursday, and then another big drop is going to be on the way. Let's focus in on the sunshine. It's going to be a beautiful pattern. Loving what we got going on today. If you liked yesterday, you're going to like today a lot more. I thought it was still bearable because of that sunshine. Sunshine, I always say this fact, if you're standing directly in it, it will easily make you feel at least 10 degrees warmer. 56 degrees compared to 53 yesterday, so it's a 3-degree upgrade. But the big thing is it's not as breezy, so we don't have those harsh wind chills. Pretty much our wind chill is going to be matching our temperature through most of the afternoon. You'll feel it every once in a while, and then heading through the evening, we really cool down in a hurry. Tomorrow's forecast, this is a nice upgrade. We're not talking about the 50s for highs, we're talking about the 60s. This will feel a whole lot better. Still holding on to that sunshine, a lighter wind. As long as you got that big blue H dancing around, even if you get a couple of them, that's great for blocking anything from moving, say, onshore, or any systems to move on in. So we're really going to be stuck in that drier pattern going forward. There's a slight chance for rain on Tuesday. I don't have it here, but that really looks to be pretty much null and void. But this isn't necessarily a good thing. Every Thursday, the U.S. Drought Monitor issues this map, and my Weather IQ next week is actually specifically on this. North Carolina, 91% of it's either under a dry to a drought status. And if we zoom in a little bit closer, South Carolina is not as bad, but for all of our viewing area, we're either under a moderate to now a severe drought. So that means areas in Cleveland County, Byrd County especially, I've seen some advisories along the Catawba River to try to use less water. And this can happen this time of year. I did talk to somebody who's an expert about all this, and they said that they're not really expecting any long-term lasting effects. But if we don't get some rain really in the next month, it's only going to worsen. But let's focus in on the good. Still plenty of sunshine, a great pattern. We are falling back, though. The end of daylight saving time starts on Saturday night, so that's going to be nice to get that extra night of sleep. Of course, it changes our sunset and our sunrise times, but this coming Sunday, look at this. The Panthers game, lower 70s, and the mid to the upper 70s. That's right. The cool down was worth it. We have that next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Tonight on WCNC Charlotte at 11, the struggle of small businesses. This is an issue we've been telling you about for quite some time. Even after the pandemic ended, businesses can't stay afloat. We thank you for joining us for the news at 11. I'm Vanessa Rufus.
And I'm Colin Mayfield. Some have been forced to close down due to things like funding and staffing issues. One local organization is working to change all of that. WCNC Charlotte Tradisha Woodard shares how they're seeking solutions to help small businesses continue to flourish.
Well, Score Charlotte's mentors say they know what it's like to be a small business owner, and they're using that knowledge to help others start and grow their own. This is Yazan Homede, the owner of Sip City Market and Bottle Shop. Homede says since opening their doors back in May, finding their target audience has been one of their biggest challenges.
That was the biggest fear, is marketing and advertising for myself. Is like, what is that going to look like? And literally the more I looked into it, the more I got lost.
He says increasing foot traffic is key to ensuring your business runs smoothly. And for some, that's been a challenge, which makes new business owners like himself a little concerned.
It kind of gives you like a wake-up call. Like, I needed to slow down to revisit, is my strategy working? Is my marketing working?
That's where Score Charlotte, a free resource for small businesses, steps in to help with hopes of providing reassurance and relief.
What we help them to do is create a plan. Most of them don't have a plan. So if we can help them to see on paper, hey, this is how you can manage your business better, then that's when they're able to make different decisions.
From new businesses to old businesses, Score Charlotte says they're seeing an uptick in the number of applications and business owners in need of help.
To prevent closing down those doors, they're having to put their all into their business. So, they're coming in and they're working 12-hour days.
They say the goal is to prevent small businesses from hitting rock bottom, equipping them with the tools and knowledge they need to succeed.
Score does actually help tremendously.
For business owners like Homede, it means the world.
I honestly don't even know how to appreciate them for that.
It